What's going on, everybody? John Eric Polai here with My MMA News, and today's guest is coming off a unanimous decision win at UFC Vegas 78, where he defeated Tafon Nchukwi for his first career UFC win. Joined today by AJ Dobson. AJ, first off, man, it's nice to see you. I know we did one of these a few years ago when you won on the Contender Series, so first and foremost, great seeing you again, and also congrats on the win, man. I know it's been a long time coming. I'm sure a dream come true for you.
Yeah, man, great seeing you as well. Yeah, this has been a long time coming. Finally, this win took 10 years, so feels pretty good to finally be in the win column.
I was going to say, what are the emotions like and everything with that first time getting your hand raised inside of the octagon? Obviously, a dream come true for any fighter. I'm sure it's probably still very high up there on the emotions for you.
Yeah, I've been visualizing that moment, dreaming about that moment for so long, ever since I started training, and all the sacrifices, the hard times, the dark places that I've been in. It just made all of that just worthwhile. So I'm still feeling it. I don't think I've fully processed it yet, but it's definitely a dream come true for sure.
I'm sure it is, man. And, it's crazy to think, too. I know we opened up saying, first time we're speaking since the Contender Series. Obviously, Contender Series fights are in the Apex. Your first two UFC shows, they weren't in the Apex, actually. So this was your first real UFC Apex experience. Just think about that, too. Being back in Las Vegas for the first time since the show. Did you have a lot of flashbacks when you first got there and were in the Apex and everything?
Absolutely. The Apex is such a good environment for fighting. They have so many different places that you can warm up, so it just brought back so many cool memories, being in that ring, being in that arena. It felt like I was at home.
I was saying, you probably like the Apex, it sounds like, too. I know you're saying it feels like home. Obviously, 2 wins there. Big fan of the Apex, I'm guessing.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like we were saying before, the crowds are always nice. But the biggest thing about fighting is that 2 hours before, being comfortable, having a spot to warm up. And the Apex is just ideal for fighting. You know what I mean? It's perfect for warming up, perfect for getting in the zone. So, yeah, I love it.
And you're not the only fighter that likes the Apex, too. I know there are a lot of fighters that prefer the stadium shows, but I know the Apex does definitely have its benefits there. Let's get into this fight now here a little bit. Before we even get into the actual X's and O's of the fight here, I do want to back up to the day before weigh-ins. I know your opponent had missed weight. That does not sit well with some fighters. Other fighters say they don't care because it's just extra money into their pockets. Just want to get your thoughts and everything that transpired with that.
Yeah, I'm still on my rookie contract, so it doesn't matter to me. If anybody shows up overweight, I'll take the fight anytime. You know what I mean? Extra money, and their cardio will be a little bit weathered. So yeah, it was a no-brainer for me.
And I know you mentioned there, right, about the cardio being weathered. I want to actually ask you about that because I did notice it seemed like anyway from watching the fight that as the fight was going on, you were building up steam. He was definitely losing steam. Did you kind of get that sense as well when you were inside the octagon that night?
Yeah, especially the third round. I could feel that, the leg kicks weren't as fast, they weren't as strong, and I was able to kind of capitalize and really steal the fight in that last round. But yeah, I definitely felt his cardio waning.
And now let's kind of get into these, X's and O's here of the fight. All 3 rounds, very tactical. A lot of it obviously taking place on the feet. He came out pretty much guns blazing, especially with the kicks. He was really ripping those. But his punches, though, you did such a very good job of getting out of the way, rolling with them, moving out of the way. Just talk about that end of the fight, just defensively, how you were able to be so smooth and tactical and being able to roll away with the punches and everything.
Well, I've been training a lot of my boxing, especially at Strong Style. We're doing a lot of boxing training, a lot of head movement training. So I was able to, really see his punches coming. I've been doing a lot of Muay Thai training as well at Short North Muay Thai. So I've been trying to, get my leg kicks together, but he was able to get my timing. But yeah, his hands, weren't as good as his feet. And the only thing he was landing to was that leg kick. So that was the only problem.
And you mentioned about working with boxing. I could tell that was definitely on display because a lot of times whenever anybody's watching an MMA fight, punches a lot of times can be wild, crazy, looping all over. You were just so straight, quick. And I loved it. You could tell that you were definitely working on that. Just talk about that too a little bit, your strikes. 'Cause throughout the whole entire course of the fight, it seemed like he was winding up to try to throw heavy, and there you are, quick, pepper him with a shot, get out of the way.
Yeah, that's one thing we saw in his film. You know, he does a lot of hooks. It doesn't really throw too many down the pipe, and if he does, it's to set up a kick. So there's not really much on it. So we kind of knew that if we stuck to the straight shots, that we'd have a better chance in there.
And like I said, obviously a lot of that being tactical on the feet throughout the course of the 3 rounds. But there was a moment, I believe it was towards the end of round 1, if I'm not mistaken. It might have been round 2. But anyway, you got a takedown, and the broadcast team was raving about it. They were so happy to see that. Is that a new wrinkle in the game and something that we're going to see more of as your career goes on here?
Absolutely. That was another thing that I had to really double down on, because of my injuries. I had that bucket handle tear, and then I had that MRSA on my shin. So my grappling was kind of suffering a little bit. So I really had to double down on my wrestling, like put the shoes on, actually go to, wrestling classes, you know what I mean? So that was a big thing I wanted to show. One of the things in training too, that we were working on is if I do get a takedown, the round is over. You know what I mean? If I get some, I'm keeping them down and I'm grounding, pounding them, or I'm looking for a submission. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get the submission, and he was kind of holding me too much, so I couldn't really posture as much as I could and land strikes. But the game plan, that we were working on is if I do get him down, the round is over. So.
And you did indeed do that. I know you went to takedown kind of late in the round there, but still, nonetheless, had him on his back to end the round there. I know you had mentioned about things with injuries and everything. Just for the people watching at home, I want you to talk about this because this sport, it can be very unforgiving at times. And I talk to fighters a lot, and a lot of fighters will say, being active, being active, being active. A lot easier said than done. Just talk about, the injuries that fighters go through, the recovery that you try to do, which is a lot easier said than done because it's a major part of the sport.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's always going to happen. You got to find ways to improve while injured. You know what I mean? And it's such a tricky thing to do because there's a fine line between hurting yourself more and trying to find that improvement. And I kind of came into the UFC with a little bit of an injury, and when you get signed, it's not like oh, I'm here now. Like you have to train even harder. So it's one of those things where once you step that training up, even more injuries come out, or more injuries are more apparent. So it's one of those things where you kind of have to be economical with your training and find that fine line. For me, it was kind of hard the last 2 fights to get my grappling up. I really had to focus on rehabbing my knees and rehabbing other injuries and stuff like that. And when I finally got the strength, now I got to actually, train it out. So it's definitely a hard thing to do. And it's something that can derail people's careers. You know what I mean? A lot of people will just, retire early or try and, pull out of fights just because of injuries. But it's one of those things that you have to learn how to deal with.
So now we open up the interview and we're talking about, the emotions being high after the first career win. We break down the fight. Now we kind of get into those kind of low moments of the sport here. Now let's have it all come full circle. There you are. You get your first win. You walk out of the octagon and the apex there. You're back in the locker room. Just what was it like back then, and how'd you celebrate the fight afterwards?
Man, it felt like I could finally breathe. It just, you try to come into a fight, with a clear mind, but man, I knew I was fighting for my job. I knew there was so much on the line. My future was on the line. Everything was on the line. So I could finally breathe after the win. I could finally go, okay, I'm here. And I didn't really, celebrate too much. I got the decision, but, rewatching the fight, there's definitely a lot of stuff that I can improve on. So I didn't really celebrate too much. Not really a win that I can take a victory lap on, So, I pat myself on the back and, got some good food, got some good rest, because it's so hard to sleep during fight week. So, I was able to get some good food, get some good rest, and then just plan on how I'm going to improve. So that's how I celebrated.
And I like how you mentioned about, you felt like you take a big deep breath there. I wanted to ask, it's kind of an interesting spot. Obviously, like you said, you were fighting for your job. And I know a lot of fighters in those positions have said, like you said, it feels like the pressure has been taken off. But I never thought of it this way either. Josh Fremd, who actually, I believe he fought right before you did at UFC Vegas 78, he was telling me how, well, yeah, my first win, was the pressure taken off? I guess you kind of say that, but I know with the 4-fight contract, you had mentioned about your rookie deal before, it's usually a 4-fight contract. Obviously, you're still kind of in that weird spot where you need to get another win. You need to be 2-2. You need to have a good performance to then go and negotiate with the UFC and the matchmakers and everybody. So with all of that being said, I guess, is the pressure off, or do you still kind of feel it? Is there not really pressure at all? And every fighter has different, outlooks on things like that.
Yeah, the pressure honestly is still there. Again, that's why I said it's not really a win that I can take a victory lap on. I'm able to get that last fight. I mean, sometimes if you go 3-fight skid, they'll just cut you right there. So I was able to kind of keep my job. So the pressure was off in terms of like I can keep my job, but the pressure is still on because you want to get re-signed, you want to negotiate. So yeah, no, the pressure is still on, man. I'm still in that pressure cooker. I'm still focused and ready to get that last win.
And then with that being said, man, what's next for you? Do you have a time frame? I know the August fighters in that weird bracket where it's like, I might be able to get one in by the end of the year, might have to sit out to the early part of 2024. So what's kind of the roadmap looking like here?
Yeah, well, I'd asked, I don't know if the card is filled up already, but I'd asked to be on that Stipe card, man. My teammate Stipe at Madison Square Garden. That'd be unbelievable if I can get on that card. But if not, that's cool. We'd definitely like to get at least one more before the end of the year just to stay active. The hardest thing is to get used to the UFC fight week and actually being in there. So once you kind of get in there, it's easy to do it again, sooner. So I would rather get one in at least 2 months, 3 months, and yeah, stay active, keep up on the momentum.
And I wanted to ask you too about Stipe, just because obviously I'm sure he's in the gym working right now. Obviously, you're just coming off a camp and everything. How's Stipe looked in his camp as he's preparing for a massive title fight with John Jones?
Yeah, Stipe looks great as always. There's always speculation. I don't know what it is. People are like, oh, is Stipe actually training? Like, he stays in the gym. He's a gym rat. He's consistently training all the time. He never takes a break. So I'm excited, man. I can't wait to see him do work. I think he's going to put on the performance of a lifetime against Jones. I think this is going to be a true, just legacy cementing fight for him. And I'm excited, man. That's why I really want to be on that card, just to witness that greatness in person. You know what I mean? He's a heavyweight that moves like a welterweight and hits like a super heavyweight, So I'm excited, man. I'm excited for him to do his thing.
And Stipe, of course, too, everybody knows the great work that he does with the fire department and everything. I mean, he's just like a stand-up model American type of a citizen there. What's it just like being able to know him, not only inside of the training camp and everything, but just to know him as a person, as a human being?
Man, it's awesome. He's the quintessential MMA fighter. You know what I mean? Family man, like you said, a firefighter. And he just makes everything seem so effortless. You know what I mean? Like, he's just the perfect type of like MMA template that I would, aspire to be like one day, So it's definitely a blessing to be around him, to be around his team, and to see just what the cream does, So it's awesome. It's an awesome experience anytime I can be around him.
AJ, appreciate the time as always, man. Congratulations again on the first career UFC win there. Just last thing before you head out, you want to go ahead and plug your social media so people know where to follow you at. Then all that good stuff, management, sponsorships, anybody you got to give shout outs to, all that good stuff. You get the last word today.
Yeah, if you guys want to follow me, Dobson UFC. I want to do a big shout out. This win took a village. I had posted that on Instagram. This one took, a large community of people. So just want to shout out, Strong Style MMA, Short North Muay Thai, Grove City BJJ, Rob Pilger's Old School Boxing, Adam DeSabato, 614 Barbell. Rest in peace, Louis Simmons. West Side, all the things that they've done for me. Everybody, man, and also keep on the lookout for. I'm going to be breaking the world record for strict heaviest Nordic curl. So shout out my Nordic family, Nordstick, Freak Athlete Essentials, all these guys. So look out, we got some cool stuff coming in the future.